Just a box.
Hey guys, so it looks like we recently had an agent infiltrate into Lost Ark China. We can call him Agent L. And after Agent L went into Lost Ark China, he had quite a few things to report back into us. And he actually made a Reddit post talking about all the good things and bad things that he saw in the server. And he also related it back to like maybe some of the reasons why we didn't get what we want here, or like things are happening really slowly. And while I think that a lot of his points were very valid, I do think that he is putting a little bit too much, I guess, faith, or like, I don't know, supporting the decisions of Lost Ark China just a little bit too much, and kind of downplaying our servers as well. So I wanted to go over those and those thoughts today in the video clip to follow. As per usual, we do this all the time on my stream, twitch.tv/MeSelectShiru. We stream every single day. So if you want to kind of participate in these conversations, please come on over, hang out. But if not, hopefully you guys enjoy this clip. Oliver Guan. Devs Tencent do not give a shit about Smilegate wands, unique server class balancing, own internal data, developing the official DPS meter. Oh, damn. Extra systems unique to region merge. Unique to region. Chaos dungeon mount system, which is coming, stolen by NA. Very active, about 50 endgame lobbies. Come up with unique ideas, promote community slash gameplay. Broshaza hard mode race titles, getting unique, spending money. E.g., if you spend $1,800 in a month, you get a title in the game. Wow! Busting is banned in China. If you put busting your lobby, a moderator will ban you instantly. Makoko helping system. Solo raids China added their own unique system. Instead of 40% of the goal, it's 80% but fully bound. No infinite chaos dungeon. Anti-botting measure. Devs write letters. Community events every day / every other day. Promote better the game better. The shy other LPL gamers, UFC fighters promote the game. You want NA? We get Shroud playing the game with Rennie. Loa similar API in China. Yeah, every day, every other day. That sounds like a little excessive, though, to be honest. But it doesn't sound like devs write letters every day. It's like they write letters or like a community event every other day, something like that. I think it's devs write letters, community events every day / every other day. So it's not that devs write letters every day. There's community events every day / every other day. Is what he's saying. No bots because China accounts are tied to your real identity. Random censorship made the game worse. Red hitbox shows a bright yellow. I can't fucking see. Gatekeep is worse than region than NAU. Pay to win 1 year release. There's already 1600 eye level, min eye level, Hanumton lobbies, and full LS KOC 18 lobbies for a fresh raid. People do not communicate in the region. Literally everyone I count is mute unless they're going to flame you. Gamba on in-game shop bonus, like lot of rice farmers. Rate of BC is 100 to 5k. Holy booba censorship, if you care about that. Now, I know that some of you guys will say that AGS is implementing these changes soon too. They've changed now. They're great, but the problem is, why did it take 2 years for this shit to happen? Tencent is instantly adapting the game for their own region, adding things they think are useful or fixing systems they think are inherently bad. Lost Ark Korea is not a perfect game. They have so many problems, yet it seems like AGS has almost made zero adaptations since the game's inception in the West, besides fixing some pay-to-win systems in an inherently pay-to-win game. It's actually disgusting how little AGS marketing team seems to give in comparison to Tencent. Tencent actually getting the Shy and other prolific League of Legends pros, similar player-based game style Lost Ark, while AGS getting I don't know who. I'm not sure if it's money or influence, but it seems like Tencent has a completely different licensing contract compared to AGS. I feel like AGS has to straight up suck SG off to even get the smallest changes, while Tencent really out there creating their own game. Server ratings. Chinese are 8.5, and this is by far the best playing experience. So many systems in the game to help overall progression. However, the worst thing in the this server is by far the gatekeeping, as most people Swiping casuals not do well on the server. I mean, I feel like that in itself should take the rating down even more. But I guess it's like, I think that if we wanted to play in the China server, it would probably be a terrible, terrible experience. But the Chinese people playing there, I think it's fine. Korean server. Always first content release, but plagued with problems such as gatekeeping, support shortage, and the players in the servers are absolute dog shit. Because there's so many players, the average player is probably 9 to 5 Andy playing one character at 1680, rest 1540. Not saying this is bad, but the skill median in the server is by far the worst out of any server I play on. NA server, 5 out of 10. Won't comment on EU since I haven't played it enough. On highest skill as expected, with so many people using DPS meter and other tools in order to sweat damage. Problem is that it's so overridden with RMT botting / bussing, including a lack of player base that you can only play during certain times while on KR and CN. There are lobbies even at 3 a.m. before reset day. Market is also really ruined by bots, but it's hard to keep up if you aren't RMTing. Playing experience by far the best, least toxic top left server IMO. There's no way he rates it an 8.5 if gatekeeping is that bad. Because to an average person, they're basically never going to be able to get into a party. And that sucks. Like, even here, right? Gatekeeping is bad, but, like, I don't think it's as bad as that, to where, like, 1,600 plus, basically, you need to pay to win to get into any lobbies. I think that's not good. I think that Legalia is probably giving too much. He's kind of dick-sucking China just a little bit too much, in my opinion. I think Legalia might be dick-sucking China just a little bit too much. I think that they have made a lot of cool changes to the server itself, but I also think that the problems that he mentions are not small problems. Just apply to similar eye level. Obviously, if you apply to over your party's going to get gate kept ish. It kind of makes sense, yes. But the thing is, if 80 to 90% of parties are going to be 1600 item level plus, and the majority of players aren't that level, right? It's pretty much like going to be impossible for you to get into a party. But the thing is, right? Here's the big difference. In China, the majority of the player base is going to be like this, where they are at 1600 plus item level at a gatekeeping Hanamatan. You know what I mean? Like, that is the majority of players, I'm assuming. So in China, if you are playing in that server, if you're like an actual Chinese player, this is the norm to you. So that's fine. But the thing is, it's like, because like the casual in China, I think is probably different than the casual here. The casual here is probably like, in this situation would be a 1540 character applying to Hanamatan. But a casual in China might be like a 1580 applying to Hanamatan. You know what I mean? I think from a Chinese player perspective, this makes sense. This makes sense from a Chinese player perspective. But from a global perspective, I would honestly put this down to this or even worse. I think Legalia plays too many juicers. The average player everywhere is trash. No, what he's making is makes sense, GoSun. Because I do think that because there's so many more people playing in Korea, and I've talked about this before. There's so many people playing in Korea, right? Literally, grandmothers are playing Lost Ark. You have kids playing Lost Ark, right? And those people are going to be skewing the average down. The average player in Lost Ark Korea is going to be not very good. The thing is, we don't have as many average players compared to Lost Ark Korea, because our game is very much catered to like the super hardcore. If we look at here, right, this is the NA/A/. So this is the Korea pie, right? Korea. And this is NA/EU. So in the KR pie, you probably have, in terms of like sweaty players, it might be like this, right? You have the sweats here. And then they might have a situation where the casuals is like this. Or maybe it's like this, right? Casuals. And this is like the, I don't know, semi sweats, right? Whereas for us, it's probably like this. It's like the sweats is probably like this portion. And then you have the and then you have casuals like this. And then the rest of this is probably semi-sweats. Kind of like me. So this is why the average player in Korea is probably going to be a lot worse than the average player in NAEU. I think that this is probably a pretty decent representation of like how the player base is split up in NA and EU versus KR. Like maybe the actual like, you know, I guess the individual, like, you know, the small numbers here and there, right? It might be a percentage point here and there this way or that way. But I think that in terms of like the pie, it probably, this makes sense. We have so many more like semi-sweats and sweats compared to KR, compared to casuals. And that's kind of why this makes sense, what he's saying, that on average, the KR players are going to be just, you know, more casual, not as good. And again, for the Chinese server, if you are a Chinese player, I think that maybe 8 out of 5 is fair because you're probably one of these people anyways, or at least close to the 1600 item level Hanumatana players. But for if you were an NA player, I think that you probably have like an even worse experience there than in the NA servers. And it makes sense because NA is, you know, obviously it's going to be catered towards NA players and not China and not Chinese players, and vice versa. Chinese servers not going to be catered towards NA servers and NA players. But I do think that it's cool that they have some of these like really cool systems that they brought in that made the game a lot better. Now, one thing that I noticed that is very interesting, right, that he notes here is like, it's actually discussing how little AGS marketing team cares compared to Tencent. Tencent actually getting the Shy and other prolific League of Legends pros, while AGS getting I don't know who, right? And I think that at the end of the day, this comes to like a couple things. Maybe it is that they don't care as much, the marketing team. I mean, honestly, have we ever seen AGS do any marketing outside of like when the game first came out? No. But that's because they probably have a set budget for the game that Tencent might have a much bigger budget compared to them. And also, the other thing is, if you think about it this way culturally, Tencent equals CCP, right? Tencent is the government. And the government can pull a lot more strings with these other players than we can. Or than like a normal company can. So they could literally have situations where, you know, the Shy and other prolific League of Legends pros, they have like easy access to them, and in maybe certain ways, they can't say no to them. But also, I do think that there is a big difference between the budget that Tencent has for gaming compared to AGS. I always say this, but AGS is a subsidiary of Amazon. And because of that, they don't have the Amazon money. Like, they get given money by Amazon, but what is that piece of the pie from Amazon's, like, you know, overall revenue and profits and P&L? It's probably a very small pie. Because, like, if we think about it, how much money is AGS actually making Amazon? Like, what games do AGS have? Throne of Liberty, not out yet. New World, good joke. Lost Ark. So, literally, they have 2 games. They have 2 games. And Blue Protocol, Dead on Arrival, right? They literally have 2 games. Whereas, how many games does Tencent have? Tencent games. I mean, and they have big, like, you know, big ownership over some like really popular games like Path of Exile, right? They just have so many titles under them. Like, look at this, right? You just go down the fucking list, right? Just keep going, right? Just all these fucking games that are under them. So they are making a lot more money than AGS is. So budget-wise, it's going to be way bigger than AGS. So even if they could get somebody like, you know, I don't know, even if they wanted to get somebody like Asmongold playing the game, right? Even if they wanted to get somebody like, I don't know, Queso or like Jigsy or somebody out there to play the game, they might not have the budget to hire these people to play. Like at the beginning, right? Of course, they're going to be putting a lot of money into marketing at the beginning. Their budget is probably going to be like, you know, their budget pie is going to be like, you know, let's say this, like this pie would be for marketing, right? But then later on, now this pie would be for marketing because like we're just at a different time frame of the game. I'm not saying this because I'm like, you know, Smilegate dick sucker or like, you know, or not Smilegate, like AGS cocksucker or something like that, right? I'm not gawking over AGS, but like this is just how companies work. This is how like, you know, business works, right? It's just how it is. Asmongold basically killed the game via negative PR with its issues, and I don't blame him. I don't know if he had that much of a pull onto the game. I think that what he did was maybe speed up how quickly people left the game, but I think anybody who left the game because of what Asmongold said probably wouldn't be playing the game today. And then I also think this is interesting, right? I feel like AGS has to straight up suck Smilegate off to get even the smallest of changes, while Tencent really out there creating their own game. And he's like, you know, I'm not sure it's a money or influence, but it seems like Tencent also has a different licensing contract compared to AGS. And this is what I've been saying, right? I've been saying this for a while, and I don't think people really like put this or like think about it or like think they just think I'm like bullshitting, right? But I honestly do think Tencent has a completely licensing contract compared to AGS. I think Tencent is going to be able to like, they were able to negotiate like, you know, development rights for the game to actually develop their own shit, right? They were able to go and, you know, like it's right here, devs/Tencent do not give a shit about what Smilegate wants because they were able to negotiate a contract that was able to allow them to do that and make things like unique balance patches, make things like official DPS meter, right? But we weren't able to get that. So that's why our changes, we usually end up getting like the crumbs, like the little, like the runoff from like China. Like, you know, I'm like drinking this shit right here, like, you know, like drinking this water, right? Like that dribble that's coming down from like my mouth, like that's literally like what AGS gets. They get to suck the like water off like my fucking pants when it falls down on my pants like that, you know? Like that's basically what happens to AGS. Whereas China gets to fucking drink their own water, you know? China and like Korea gets to drink their own water, where AGS has to like fucking, you know, wait for this runoff to come down from like the mouth of China and fucking Korea to actually make any changes. Because these changes that we're getting are not new things. They're all things that have been in other servers. So there's definitely something here that they were able to get that we didn't get. And I do think that a lot of it has to do with like money and influence, because again, as we were mentioning earlier, Tencent just has a lot more money, a lot more experience, a lot more resources. They were able to get these things that, you know, we just weren't. And like, not only is it like their own games, right? It's like games that they've invested in and probably gotten big returns off of, like fucking Path of Exile. Like, look at that shit. They're a huge investor in Discord, in League of Legends. They basically own Riot. Like, it's insane.